Hey, good news, 25, let's just delete. It's too much junk to write, and this is an equilateral triangle, but it's kind of hard to tell why, and I don't think we're going to remember why on the test. So let's delete this one. Huzzah. Let's keep going. All right, 26 says, are angles BAD, oh gosh, I need to separate this into two triangles because I can't really tell what's going on. Okay, what question are they asking us? Are BAD, so that's BAD, and BCD congruent. BCD congruent. Okay, well, that means, are they equal angles? Well, let's check their sides. Their outsides, the left and the right, are the same. The bottom pieces are also the same. Okay, what about this piece in the middle? We kind of already talked about it on number 24. When you have two triangles butted up like that, that side in between them is equal or congruent. So this side in the middle is equal or congruent because they're buttoned up to each other. Okay, so the question was, are these angles congruent? Well, these two triangles are congruent because of the side, because all three sides are congruent. So if the triangle is congruent, then the angles inside are congruent. Yeah. Okay, so let's look for something that says side, because we had three sides the same. We didn't know about that middle one, but I reminded you. So let's look for something that says SSS, and then maybe something about the angles are congruent because the triangles are congruent, or something like that. Okay, if we look at A, it doesn't say anything about the triangles. So A is out. Part B doesn't say anything about the triangles. So B is out. Part C, I see something about a triangle. Good. Part D says something about they're not congruent because DAC and DCA. Yeah, DAC is not even on these two triangles, so that one's out. So C says, yep, the angles are congruent because those triangles are congruent by SSS. So since these orange sides are equal, the yellow sides are equal, the blue sides are equal, that means the angles inside are equal or congruent. Yay, C. Okay, let's look at 27. It says find X and Y. Okay. This time, we're going to set up a proportion. Okay, and first we're going to look for our angles that they told us were congruent. Okay, and let's go ahead and pick up the two sides across from those angles. X, 24. Okay, and let's make a proportion of the little triangle over the big triangle stuff. Okay, so we have the little triangle X over the big triangle 24 equals, Now let's find two matching pieces of information from the triangle. Okay, now since x and 24 are matched together, 6 and 18 are going to be matched together. And then eventually 3 and y are going to be matched together. Okay, so we have x over 24, little over big triangle, x over 24. Then 6 over 18. Okay, now we're going to cross multiply and divide. Cross multiply and divide means multiply the two numbers in your diagonal, then divide by the number in the diagonal with the x. And we should get x equals 8. Yeah. Okay, now let's make another proportion. This time with the y. Okay, so we're going to have the little triangle information over the big triangle information. Okay, so if I'm looking at this 3 and y, 3 comes from the little triangle, y from the big. Okay, and then let's come up with two matching pieces of information. How about 6 and 18? 6 comes from the little triangle, so I'm going to put it on top. 18 comes from the bigger triangle, so I'm going to put 18 on bottom. And then we're going to cross multiply the diagonal that has the two numbers in it. 3 times 18. Then we're going to divide by the diagonal with the y in it. Heck. And that should give you 9. Hey! Woohoo! Okay, let's look at 28. It says, student wants to know, we got our two triangles. We're talking about at high noon when the sun is almost directly overhead. There's a shadow. Yeah, okay. Okay, so this is the flagpole. And it's kind of crooked, but that's okay. Okay, that's the flagpole. There's a sun. Nope, I put my sun in the wrong spot. There's a sun. You don't really have to know where the sun is. I'm just trying to show you. And the sun creates a shadow down here. Ooh, okay. And it's asking us, how far above the ground is the top of the pole? So we want to know how tall this guy is. Okay, it talks about something called plumb bob with a string. I have no idea what that is, but apparently it's something that sits on the pole with a string that hangs down. I guess like a bobber in the water? I don't really know. Okay, so I'm going to draw these two triangles. And unfortunately, this has different units on it. So this smaller triangle has a 3-foot and a 14-inch. Okay, and since it's hanging down directly, it's a 90-degree angle. Then on this bigger triangle, we don't know the height, but we know the whole bottom is 10 feet. And directly down with the ground would make a 90-degree angle. Okay. So, these two triangles both have 90-degree angles, and both of these triangles have the same angle along this bottom left. Okay. So, these triangles are congruent because they have that angle at the bottom that's the same, bottom left. They have this angle at the bottom right that's the same. And that means that this top angle we get from subtracting from 180. Well, if you take 180 and subtract this right angle and subtract this orange angle, you get an angle. If you take 180 and subtract this right angle and this same orange angle, you get the same blue angle. So these are congruent because all three of the angles are equal. They're called equal angular, but not equilateral. Okay, so anyway, we want to find this so we can set up a proportion. Let's do the little triangle over the big triangle. Okay? So from the little triangle, our information is, mixed, because we have different units. We're going to have to change this 14 inches to feet. Okay? Well, how many inches are in a foot? 12. So what we're going to do is we're going to say 14 divided by 12 will give us however many feet we're wanting. 1.16666. Okay, so now this 14 inches has been converted to 1 foot, 0.66666, because we did 14 divided by 12, because there's 12 inches in a foot. Okay, now let's set up a proportion. I can put this 1.666, yeah? And then what's its matching piece from the big triangle? Is it this hypotenuse? Nope. Is it this height? Nope. The matching base of the other triangle is the other base, 10. Okay. Then we have a 3 as a height and a question mark. The 3 goes on top with the little triangle. The question mark goes on bottom with the big triangle. Then we cross multiply and divide. Remember, you multiply the diagonal numbers that have both the numbers. Then you divide by the diagonal that has that question mark. And then it says we're supposed to round. So 10 times 3 divided by 1.18-ish. So this is 18. So the height is 18. But if you're looking in the answer box, it doesn't say 18. That's because this is 18 feet. Your answer box says inches. So, just like earlier when we divided by 12 to get feet, we're going to go backwards and we're going to multiply by 12 to get the inches. What just happened? What did I do? 14. Oh my gosh, that says meter. Wait, no, that says inches. Okay, inches. 1.66. Maybe I did this one wrong. Oh my gosh, it's 1.166. I'm an idiot. Oh my gosh. Idiot. You're such an idiot. Okay, idiot. 1.16. Okay, it's not 18. I typed it in the wrong. It was supposed to be 1.16666. We did all the math right. I just wrote down the wrong number. 1.16666. Okay, let me try again. 10 times 3 divided by 1.1666666. Oh, okay. Okay, let's round this. Maybe to the whole number 26. And then now let's do that math again. 26 times 12. 312. And if you're off a little bit, it'll be okay. Either the test will allow a couple points different, or I'll go back and give you full credit. Okay, so let's go over that again. I separated out my triangles. I had to convert that 14 inches to a foot, and when I did, I forgot to write down that extra 1, and that's what messed me up over here. Okay, but you're going to do the little triangle over the big triangle. All right, let's go to 29. And obviously you can see there's a bunch of repetitive questions, like 30 and 31 are kind of repetitive. And so is 33. I'm going to take off a bunch of the repetitive problems. All right, let's look at this sucker. It says find the distance D across the river. Assume that the triangles are similar and the ratio of D to 90 feet is the same as the ratio of 150 feet to 30 feet. Okay, this is telling you how to set up your proportion. Yeah, it's saying the ratio of D to 90, ratio also means fraction, is equal to the same as the ratio of 150 to 30. Okay, now let's cross multiply and divide. You're going to multiply the diagonal that has the two numbers in the diagonal. Then you're going to divide by the diagonal that has the missing piece. Hey, I got 450. Woo! Okay, so that one was like the last ones we've done, only it literally told you what was proportional. D over 90, 150 over 30. Woohoo! Okay, let's see here. Choose an appropriate metric unit to measure the width of a fly's eye. Okay, meters, that's like saying a yard. And that's kind of like our English yard. And that's way too big for a fly. So that's out. Kilometers is talking about, I don't know, the distance from DFW to Dallas Love Field, the two airports. That would be a distance of kilometers. Centimeters, if you remember back to our last homeworks, centimeters are about this size. Yeah, remember on the ruler, inches is on one side, centimeters is on the other side, and centimeter is like yeah, okay. So centimeters would not measure a fly's eyes. That's too big. Millimeters are those tiny little tick marks in between the centimeter. And one of those would definitely be how big an eyeball of a fly would be. Okay, let's look at 31. Choose an appropriate English measure to measure the width of an office building. Okay? An office building. That means you have like a parking lot and there's cars in it, whatever. There's some trees, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And then the office building with its little, yeah. Okay, so the width of an office building from one side to the other. It's not going to be inches. That's for like a bug. Okay, it's not going to be miles. That would be maybe like Nebraska Furniture Mart. That thing is probably a mile long. It's huge. But a simple office building, just one office, like your dentist's office or your PA or where your dad worked when you were little. I don't know. It's just feet. Because inches is too small, miles is too big. All right, let's look at 32. It says complete each of the following. Okay, we got 148 inches and yards. So I'm going to set up a proportion that looks like inches and yards. Okay, so we know 148 inches and we don't know how many yards. This is when we're going to use conversion, okay? How many yards is in an inch, or how many inches are in a yard? We did that on our last set of homeworks under 13.1. We said that 1 yard is 36 inches. So I'm going to say 1 yard on the bottom, because that's where the word yard is. 36 inches on the top, because that's where the word inches is. And then I'm going to cross multiply and divide. 148 times 1 divided by 36. And you don't have to do it this way. You don't have to do it this way. If you want to just straight up divide by 36, that's cool too. Okay, so when I do this, I get a decimal. But part A says type in an integer, fraction, or mixed number. That means no decimal. So let's think about this. 148 times 1 is 148. Divided by 36 is divided by 36. Okay, let's reduce. I think you can reduce by 4 maybe. I think the bottom becomes a 9. I don't know about the top. 37? That's disgusting. Okay. But then if you look at the question, oh, it says a mixed number or a fraction. So I could type in 37 over 9. I'm totally okay with that. Or you could go ahead and do old school division and say 9 goes into 37 or 9 goes into 37, I think 4 times to get 36. And you have 1 left over. So that's 9 and 1 left over. Sorry, poop. This would make whatever the number is on the top, 4. And then 1 left over. 1 goes on the top. And then whatever you divided by goes on the bottom, 9. So we could type in 37 over 9 or 4 and 1/9. I'm good to go. But on your test, if you type in the decimal, it's wrong. If you type in this 148 over 36, I got to give you partial credit. Okay, let's look at B. B says 320 yards. Okay. Yards and inches. Okay, so I'll put yards on top of inches. They gave us 320 yards. They want to know how many inches. And then now let's use some sort of conversion. We're going to put yards on top and inches on bottom. This comes from that 13.1 section where 1 yard is 36 inches. So I'm going to put 1 on the top because that's where the yard is. 36 on the bottom because that's where the inches comes from. Okay, now let's cross multiply and divide. 36 times 320 divided by 1. That should just give you, I got 11,520. Hey. Yeah. Okay, let's go to C. C is talking about feet and yards. So I'm going to make a proportion with feet and yards. Okay, they gave us 570 feet. That goes on the top because it says feet. We don't know how many yards because they're asking about the yards. Now we need to figure out some sort of conversion for yards and feet. Okay, well, you probably already know this, but 1 yard has 3 feet. So now we cross multiply and divide. 570 times 1 divided by 3. And I got 190. Yes. And it's 190. The question mark had the yard next to it, so it's 190 yards. Okay, let's go to the D. D says inches. What else is it talking about? Inches and feet. Y'all might be able to do this one without a proportion. Okay, so they gave us 360 inches. We don't know how many feet, but what conversion do we know? We know that 1 foot has 12 inches. Yeah. Okay, so let's cross multiply and divide. 360 times 1 divided by 12. And that should give you 30. And what word was next to the question mark? Feet, so feet. And you don't have to do it this way with the proportion. You could have literally just said 360 divided by 12 and you would have gotten 30. All right, let's keep going. 33. It says choose an appropriate measure for the span of a hand. Okay, this is my hand. Kilometers, that's like, it's kind of like miles. Like, that's the length. It's kind of like miles. It's not exactly the same as a mile, but it's that kind of big length. Okay, millimeters, we just saw, were for a fly eye. That's way too small for this big old hand. Okay, meters is kind of like yards, and that's still too big for this little hand. Okay, centimeters, if you remember, on a ruler, inches are along the bottom, centimeters are on the top, and in between are the millimeters. Okay, so centimeters, yep, that's how I would measure my hand. 1 centimeter, 2 centimeter, 3 centimeter, 4 centimeter, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, yeah. So centimeters, woohoo! Because meters and kilometers are too big, millimeters are too small. Okay, lastly, water bottle. Here's a water bottle. Here's the length of the bottom. Okay, miles is too big. Feet is too big. This is not 1 foot. This is like maybe some inches or something, but it's definitely not a foot. A water bottle is not a foot long along its base. So, hey, B. Okay, if you noticed, there was no converting with the metric system. With meters and centimeters and millimeters, you're welcome. You're welcome. That will not be on the test.